Today you'll learn 23 phrasal verbs that will challenge you because they're more advanced. Natives use these phrasal verbs every day, and you should too. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started. Our first advanced phrasal verb is stem from. This means to be caused by or originate from something. For example, most of the confusion stems from a lack of clear instructions. So you could say the cause of the confusion is a lack of clear instructions. That's where you can use stem from. And let me know if you think this is true. Her fear of public speaking stemmed from an embarrassing experience at school.
They all stem from a certain weakness.
Maybe that's where your fear comes from, originates from, stems from. Or you could ask, do you think the delays stem from a technical problem? Remember that, of course, with a phrasal verb, you have your verb, stem, and you need to conjugate that based on the subject and time reference, and then you have a preposition. So our next advanced phrasal verb is drum up. I love using this phrasal verb. This means to create or increase support or business for something. For example, the marketing team is trying to drum up interest. So you drum up something. To drum up interest in the new product launch. Or you can ask, how can we drum up more business in winter?
Drum up business.
So how can you create that business? I could say to you, liking this video is an easy way to drum up support for my channel, because when you like this video, it tells YouTube that this is a good video and YouTube will show it to more students who need to improve their fluency. So do you want to help me drum up interest for this video? If you do, put let's go, put let's go in the comments, because commenting is another way you can drum up support for my channel. And don't worry about taking these notes. I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. You can find the link in the description. Our next advanced phrasal verb is flesh out. When you flesh something out, you add more information or ideas to it. And the it is usually a plan, idea, or explanation.
Give me a chance to flesh it out a little first.
You might say, the proposal is promising, but we need to flesh it out. And the it is the proposal. You need to expand on it, give more information, more details. Or you could give feedback and say you need to flesh out the second part of your presentation. Now you can also use this for an overall idea. You could share an idea to drum up support for your new product, but then you could tell your team, I'm still fleshing out my idea. So they know it's an initial idea and you're still forming it, expanding on it. Let's review spell out. This is a great phrasal verb. This means to explain something very clearly and in detail, but think extreme detail. So you might say the contract spells out the responsibilities of both parties. It explains or identifies the responsibilities in such clear and explicit detail that there will be no misunderstandings.
That program spells out in detail.
Now, often we use this in a more sarcastic way. Do I really need to spell out why this behavior is unacceptable? To explain in detail why this is unacceptable. It seems obvious to me, so why do I have to spell it out? So we do use this with more frustration that we have to be so specific and detailed. Our next advanced phrasal verb is account for. This is to explain the reason or cause of something. I could ask, how do you account for the sudden drop in sales?
How do you account for that?
Now, thinking back of past phrasal verbs you've already learned, you could say the drop in sales stems from the failed product launch. So that's the cause of it. With this phrasal verb, it's common to start with the something. You could say rising fuel costs account for The decline in flight sales. The rising fuel cost is the reason why the other action happens, the declining flight sales. Let's review boil down to, and notice this phrasal verb has two prepositions, boil down to. This is to have one main cause, meaning, or point.
Boils down to this.
The problem boils down to poor communication. We use this when we want to take something that's quite broad or vague and we want to make it sound like there is one reason. You could say, in the end, the decision boiled down to cost. Now, there are absolutely other reasons that impacted the decision, but you're communicating that the most important one is cost. So you use boil down to, and then the most important point, issue, or concern. You can use this in a question form. What does this issue really boil down to? If you had to summarize it with one thing, what would it be? Let's review single out. This can be positive or negative. It means to choose one person or thing from a group. And you do that for special attention, but that could be praise, positive, or criticism, negative. The manager singled her out for her great idea. So we put the spotlight on her even though there were many other people involved or in the room. That's positive. The manager singled him out for arriving 10 minutes late.
Single out the underperformers?
So now you don't want the spotlight on you because it's criticism. Now, maybe later that person could say in frustration, I don't understand why I was singled out when John came later than me. So why did I receive the special attention that was negative? Let's review pin down. I love this phrasal verb. This means to identify, determine, or define something precisely. We need to pin down the cause of the problem before we can fix it. So we need to identify it. In question form, have you pinned down the cause yet? Have you identified it?
We're pinning down the truth.
And then you can say, we're close to pinning down the cause. We're close to identifying the cause. Let's review zero in on. This is when you direct all your attention toward something specific.
Zero in on the village.
The investigation is zeroing in on the source of the leak. Or let's zero in on the main issue instead of discussing minor details. So you want to focus all your attention on that main issue. You could say, after reviewing the applicants, we zeroed in on 2 strong candidates. So we're now putting all of our attention on these 2 candidates and we're ignoring everything else. Let's review play down. This is a very useful phrasal verb. This is when you make something seem less important, serious, or impressive than it really is. So let's think of why you would want to do that. Well, maybe the company tried to play down the seriousness of the data breach. So a data breach is when your personal information as the customer is shared when it is not supposed to be shared. So the company is trying to play that down. Oh, don't worry, we have everything under control. It was only breached for 2 hours. They're trying to make it sound less serious. We do this with positive things as well. For example, she played down her promotion in front of her sister. A promotion is positive. You think of celebrating that, telling everyone. But what if your sister just lost her job? What if your sister is going through a very difficult time? So you want to be considerate of your sister's feelings, and maybe this isn't the time to celebrate. So you might play down your promotion. But then your sister recognizes this and says, please don't play down your promotion because of me. Let's celebrate. Let's review rule out, an advanced phrasal verb. This means to exclude something as an option for consideration. You might say, we shouldn't rule out hiring someone with less experience. If you're using it negatively, we shouldn't rule out, it means we should keep this as an option for consideration. And the option is hiring someone with less experience. You might ask, have you ruled out moving abroad? So there are options: move abroad, don't move abroad. Now, if you rule out moving abroad, it means you no longer consider it. Or maybe the doctor ruled out surgery because of the patient's heart condition. Again, there are different options: surgery, non-surgery, maybe through other forms of medication, maybe natural healing. Those are the different options, but we're excluding surgery as an option because the patient has a heart condition, which makes it dangerous.
To rule out infection.
Let's review read into. This is a great phrasal verb. This means to find or imagine a meaning that may not actually be intended. For example, don't read too much into his short reply. He may simply be busy. So you wrote someone a very long message and then all you got back was one line of text. If you read into it, it means you make it seem like a big deal, or you make that mean that the person isn't interested in you or doesn't like you or doesn't want to talk to you. But that's not actually the situation. You created that. Now you can even use this with positive things. She read more into the compliment than he intended. So he simply said, great job with the report. And then she took that as, wow, he's going to promote me. She read into it. She made a meaning that wasn't there. We often use this as advice and say, I wouldn't read anything into their decision until we have more information.
Don't read into it.
Let's review hinge on. Notice that pronunciation of the connected speech. Hinge on. John. Hinge on. This means to entirely depend on something. So yes, it's the same as the phrasal verb depend on, but it sounds more extreme. To entirely depend on. That word is important. You might say the success of the project hinges on receiving approval this week. So if you don't get approval this week, the project will not succeed. You could say whether I buy the car hinges on my promotion. If you get the promotion, you'll buy the car. If you don't get the promotion, you won't buy the car. Or you might use this as advice to someone and say, relax. Your entire future doesn't hinge on one exam.
Your Honor, this case doesn't hinge on the word of Frank Gallo.
So if your friend did poorly on an exam and they're freaking out, you could use this to try to calm them down. Let's review iron out. This means to resolve small problems, disagreements, or issues. We still need to iron out a few details before signing the contract. So we have to resolve these issues. It's about time you two ironed out your differences. Maybe a mother would say that to her sons. And in this case, iron out means resolve your differences, end the conflict or the disagreement. You could say the developers are ironing out a few technical issues before the release. They're resolving them.
You iron things out with Beth?
Let's review smooth over. This means to make a disagreement or difficult situation less serious. She tried to smooth things over after the argument.
I'm going to smooth things over with Emma.
Or the manager apologized to smooth over the misunderstanding with the client. Or thankfully, we smooth things over with the client. And things represents the misunderstanding that you had with the client. Remember, smooth over is to make something that's negative less negative or more positive. To make up for. Do you know this one? This is a must-know phrasal verb. It means to compensate for something unpleasant, disappointing, or missing.
I was trying to make up for letting him get away 7 years ago.
You could say the extra vacation day helped make up for the long hours we worked. You have these long hours you worked, so now there's this gap between what you've received in benefit and what you've given as output to the company. So to level that gap, you get a vacation day to make up for, to compensate for. You could say he bought her dinner to make up for forgetting her birthday. I think he probably needs to do more than buy her dinner. If this is his wife, of course. Maybe if it's just a friend, that would be okay. Maybe you would ask, can a sincere apology really make up for what happened? Can it resolve that issue? Let's review live up to. This means to be good as expected or to meet a particular standard. We often use this in the negative. The hotel did not live up to its excellent reviews. So the reviews were here, but then the actual experience was here. So it didn't live up to, because this was your expectation. You could say she feels pressured to live up to her parents' expectations. The expectations are here, and then her performance is here. Now you can absolutely use this in the positive. The new consultant has already lived up to his reputation. So his reputation is here, and then his performance is here. So he meets that.
Because whatever happens, this corporation will live up to the guiding principles of its founder.
Our next advanced phrasal verb is call for. Call for. This means to publicly demand that something happen. And I'm sharing this because you'll hear it a lot in the news. Employees are calling for greater safety standards in the workplace. That could be a news headline right there. Or local residents called for more investment in education. Again, there's a news article. Or several industry leaders have called for changes to the policy.
The old ones, the veterans, they would have called for support, just in case.
Again, that could be a news article or simply a business discussion as well. Let's review branch out. Do you know this one? This means to begin doing something new or expand into a different area. It's very commonly used in business, but it can be used in an everyday context. But in business, the company is branching out into online education.
In fact, we're thinking about branching out the logging business and setting up a place here in Evergreen.
So currently, they are not involved in online education in any way. So they're expanding into a new area. You could say after years in accounting, she decided to branch out and study design. So she's going to do something different, something new. Or maybe you're brainstorming ideas to drum up interest or drum up sales, and you say, one way we can branch out is by offering catering services. So again, this would be a new area. You're not currently doing it. Let's review map out. This is to plan something carefully and in detail. Just like a map tells you carefully and in detail how to get from one place to another. We need to map out the next stage of the project.
We need to map out multiple escape routes, and we need to buy a new look.
She has already mapped out her career goals for the next 5 years. So she doesn't have a vague sense. She knows exactly what her goals are. Let's review pan out. This means to develop or result in a successful or simply a particular way. So you could say the business idea didn't pan out as expected. So we had this particular way we expected, And it didn't happen like that. So to talk about the end result, you can use pan out.
Those John Does didn't pan out, but you're never gonna guess who I got here in the meat locker.
You could say everything hinges on how this deal pans out. So the result of the deal. And did you notice? Hinges on. So everything entirely depends on the result of this deal. Let's review phase out. This means to gradually stop using, producing, or providing something. You could say the company is phasing out its older software.
We also talked about phasing out the youth program.
Because you don't want to just overnight say that software isn't active anymore. You need to give people time, so you phase it out. For example, many stores have phased out single-use plastic bags, but they did it over a period of time because using plastic bags was what was expected for customers. So it would have caused a lot of issues to just do it overnight. Let's review push back on. This means to question or oppose something. Several employees pushed back on the proposed schedule. So they said, I don't know if this will work. Is this a good idea? So if you just question it or oppose it, that's how you push back on.
I might have to push back on the no happily ever after thing.
Or you might say, you should push back on unrealistic deadlines instead of accepting them immediately. So you need to oppose them and say, no, Monday is not possible. The earliest is Wednesday. That's how you would push back on. Now you have 23 advanced phrasal verbs in your vocabulary. Do you want me to keep helping you with phrasal verbs? If you do, put yes, 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 put yes, yes, yes in the comments below. And of course, make sure you like this lesson, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And here's another lesson I know you'll love. Watch it now.